We're here today, guys, for the Off the Chain podcast. I have Ray with me, and we're going to be discussing AI, the tax bill, and
income inequality.
So, I don't know. I think we should start with the tax bill because that seems to be the big thing in the news cycle this Christmas season.
Absolutely, everybody's outraged, and you scroll through Facebook and you just see these people posting about how it's the end of the world. And
yeah.
It's absolutely insane. Some people actually think that tax cuts make your taxes go up. Yeah. I don't know who taught these people math, but last time I checked, tax cuts make your taxes go down.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, people, it's like the left suddenly cares about taxes going up. Those that did look at the tax bill, or those that didn't, but heard what the mainstream media said about it, they were like, oh, taxes are going up? That's bad now. It wasn't when Obama did it, but it's bad now.
Yeah. Even though they're not even going up for most Americans. Most Americans are going to get lower taxes.
Yeah, I think it was like 80% are getting lower taxes. And 20% aren't, but the 20% that aren't are those that are already in like the top tax brackets.
Wow. So it's not even taxing the poor people, it's just taxing the rich.
Yeah. And there was a very small margin that was taxed, I think it was at 10% before, and is taxed at 12% now. But it's income between like, I think it was like 9,500 something to like 13,000. It was a very small margin. And I think with the entire tax plan, we'll just get this out of the way first, like that was my only complaint with it, was that there were people given tax breaks in certain areas, but then you had lower income people where it went up very slightly. And that's, again, not even a real major complaint. It's just that is the only thing that I could really find a complaint about this tax bill.
Well, the thing is, though, for lower income people, maybe their marginal rates are going up by like 2.5%, but also the tax credit per child, what does that say? Did it increase from $1,000 to $2,000 per child for tax credit? So, I mean, for lower class people, 2.5% is much less of their income than an extra $1,000. So, if anything, they're still getting a tax break.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is, like, just looking at the tax brackets, it makes it seem like they're paying more, but then you look throughout everything else in the tax bill, and it's like, oh, they can deduct this, and they can deduct this now, and this, and it turns out they're saving money.
Yeah.
And people generally don't realize it, I don't think, especially in the left, but when you have tax cuts, especially to like the corporate tax rate, the economy tends to do really well after that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this miraculous thing people are amazed by.
I think it's hilarious how all these Democrats have been fighting for $15 an hour. Hillary couldn't have gotten them $15 an hour, but you see all these these companies now publishing that they're going to start paying their employees $15 an hour because Trump's tax cuts give them enough money where they can actually afford that. So it's like, maybe Hillary didn't get them $15 an hour through the government, but Trump got them $15 an hour through the free market, which is the way it ought to be.
That's beautiful. That's like all those huge holiday bonuses given out and the minimum wages for certain businesses being raised. Like, that's the way you need to do it, not through holding a gun to an employer's head and going, you need to pay $15 an hour.
Oh, that just kills small business owners, because a lot of the big companies can actually afford paying their workers $15 an hour. It's the small businesses that suffer, and those are the people who I fight for. I mean,
and when you have a minimum wage increase, that affects the whole scope of business. So you have small businesses that now have to pay that, whereas when the free market does it, the big companies that can afford to do it will do it.
Yeah.
And I heard something that was like, for every $1 increase in minimum wage, the amount of restaurants that close goes up like 4 to 7%.
Really?
Yeah, so
that's
going
crazy.
From like an $8 minimum wage or $9 or whatever it is up to $15 an hour would be catastrophic for the food service industry.
Oh, I already know that. I think 9 out of 10 new restaurants fail in their first year. And that's definitely not counting in McDonald's, because when was the last time you saw McDonald's go out of business?
Yeah, right.
You know? It's always a family-owned place that people are working hard and they just can't get by just because it's too tough.
Yeah.
Unless you're McDonald's or Burger King, you're not going to stay in business because the minimum wage is too high. And
Yeah.
that's insane. I mean, I'm fighting for those people. I care about those people who are working hard just trying to earn a living. So,
Yeah. No, me too. And I did a video on this, and I think I deleted it from the channel, but I did it. It was like one of the first ones I did, and it was talking about minimum wage. And a lot of people who don't really like understand it that well think of it like these like houseboats on the water, and when and minimum wage is the water level. So as that goes up, the houseboats just float, and then there's more for everyone else underneath. But in reality, those houseboats they have an anchor, and some sink, some don't. And
yeah,
that
depends how long the anchor chain is.
yeah, and usually for small businesses, that's really short.
Yeah, they don't.
So people don't realize that, though. I shouldn't say people. A lot of left-leaning people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So I think this whole tax bill, though, and it's funny. I said this a couple weeks ago about the whole Jerusalem situation. I was like, this is the most misreported on thing in the news, like that I could ever recall.
And then 2 days goes by and CNN pulls another one.
Yeah, and then a couple days goes by, a tax bill comes out, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's increasing taxes on everybody. 9 million kids are gonna die.
And then
What's happening?"
And then in small font on the bottom it says, "In 10 years, when this tax bill expires, taxes will go up." But they don't report that. They just say, "Oh, tomorrow you're gonna pay more in taxes." It's like, no, this tax cut makes your taxes cheaper, not more expensive.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know, looking over the tax plan, it seems like it was really built around lowering the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. And that seems like it's going to have the biggest impact on the economy. But, I mean, there's plenty of benefits just for, like, individual people like you and me and families. I mean...
Oh, yeah. Well, like we said, the child tax credit went from $1,000 to $2,000. So, I mean, that's a big amount of money. $1,000, I mean, nobody's going to say no to that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's more money in the pockets of people who, some need it, and, you know, some will spend it, some will hold on to it, but it's their money. Like, that's the thing that gets me with this whole tax thing is, it's just letting people keep more of what they earn.
Yeah,
like,
I have no, like, your income, I am not entitled to any of your income. But somehow a lot of Americans think that they're entitled to the income of these rich people. It's like, they earn their own money. You didn't make that money. That's not your job. You didn't do any of that work, so you're not entitled to any of that income. But somehow the Democrats really think that they have the right to take money from rich people just because they voted for it. It's like, theft, just because you voted for it, is still theft.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is Bernie Sanders, when Ted Cruz asks him, what's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist on taxes? And he's like, well, I don't know. it's like, got him!
Yeah. Yeah.
But, no, that's like Bill Maher. He said, he said something to the effect of, the tax plan just gives money to the rich.
That's not like, giving
them... No, now you have to go back into the book of, like, liberal lexicon and, like, okay, what does that mean? Giving to the rich. No, you mean you're letting them keep what they've earned.
Yeah.
Like...
Exactly. And that's the thing, is, like, all these people look at these numbers and, like, what, the CEO of Walmart makes $50 million? It's like, you think they would need to pay the CEO $50 million if the government wasn't taking more than half of that?
Yeah.
Like, they could cut their wage down to $20 million if the government just took a reasonable amount of it. But the reason that the rich have to get richer is because the taxes are going up. And in order to sustain their same income, they have to make more money. And in the end of the day, they're only making the same amount of money because they're getting half of it taken away from them. So, and then you hear about, oh, never mind, I'm not even going to get into that.
No, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, you think about some of the taxes, like the corporate tax rate of 35%, that's insane.
Yeah. How are corporations supposed to reinvest their money into themselves in order to develop new products and services?
And right there, people on the left would say, yeah, but trickle-down economics doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it does.
Look at the laptops right in front of us. Look at all the products and services that we have now that people didn't have 30 years ago. I mean, an iPhone, like, they didn't have that a long time ago. You needed the free market, and you needed investment. You needed investors. You needed rich people. Like, have you ever seen that show Shark Tank?
Yeah.
You need these rich investors to come in to help people like you and me to start a business, to work hard, to employ people, to stimulate the economy. It's like people think rich people are just rich and they just have all this money offshore and they save it in a bank account. I don't think that's the case. Rich people aren't stupid. They know that the best way, like, to keep their money is to reinvest it into the stock market. Like, they're not stupid. They know that investing into our infrastructure, which helps people like me and you, because it gives us better products and services, because they give companies more money for research and development.
Yeah. I mean, look at, like, the mobile carriers. I mean, there was a time, like, back when they were first starting, where it was just like AT&T and Verizon, and then even they were competing, and now we're at a point where cell phone plans are fairly cheap, and it's like unlimited data, unlimited texting, unlimited calling. Like, it's all this unlimited stuff because they're all fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Because it's not completely the free market. I don't think there's anything in America or in any country for the most part that's completely the free market, like no taxes, no business regulations, but it's been more exposed to the free market and competition than I think something like broadband carriers.
Oh, yeah. With the whole
net
neutrality. That's insane if you ask me. I mean, I personally, I mean, I don't earn a lot of money, but I pay an extra, I think, $10 to $20 a month so that way I can have high-speed internet. And it still sucks. Like, I can't even play Call of Duty without lagging out. And that's unfair. I mean, if I pay extra money, why should I have everything loaded at the same speed as everybody else? Like, I pay extra money so that way I can get the fast lane. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine paying extra money so that I can get the fast lane. As long as other people are fine saving money so that they could get the slow lane. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't play as much Call of Duty as me. They don't need as fast as speeds, so...
Yeah. I guess my whole thing with that is, like, if you... Like, let's take, I don't know, who's a broadband supplier?
Comcast?
Yeah, let's say Comcast. Like, if you say that they have to charge people a certain set rate, do you think that the service is going to get better? Or they're just going to be like, okay, well, this is what we get to deal with. This is the speed you get.
Yeah, they're just going to bank on it at that point because they know that they have a captive audience, essentially, because, I mean, it's not like anybody could, like, quit their subscription with Comcast if they're just as fast as every other provider.
Yeah.
So, there's no competition.
And there was Cable One, I think it was in the southwest U.S., I believe. It supplied like 700,000 people. And people were freaking out, saying that we need net neutrality because this cable company keeps going up on their prices and they own a monopoly on this region. But they were going up on their cable prices. They were way below average cable prices. Like, it was down near like $60 a month.
So they were making it more fair with the other markets.
Yeah, so then they started going up, and then they hit like $80 a month, which is like middle of the pack. And what do you think would be a bigger incentive to a small business to come in and give them competition? For the free market to work and for Cable One to have to compete with small businesses and small ISPs? Or for the government to say, you have to charge this amount, you have to operate at this cost.
Yeah.
That's what you got.
Yeah. Well, that's unfair. The government's going to tell a company what costs they have to operate under. That's just... They're going to have to start doing budget cuts and stuff like that. I mean, the company's not going to be able to function the way it wants to. And people are like that with everything. They don't understand that when you're paying for a product, not only are you paying for the actual material, but you're paying for all the research and development, and not to mention the government makes it more expensive because they put all this red tape, all these regulations. You have to pass inspection. You have to pass quality controls. You have to pass... I think... Everybody complains about big pharmaceutical companies being so expensive, selling their drugs so expensive. It's like, Well, do you know how much money it takes to get a drug on the market in America?
Yeah.
Like, I also heard 75% of medical innovations are done in America.
That's very
Because
believable.
we have like the freest markets. We don't really have free markets, but we have the freest. And the reason other countries get to charge less for medicine is because they don't do any research and development.
Yeah.
Like, we're paying for the product and the research and development for the product, whereas people in other countries only have to pay for the product. And that's stupid because paying for research and development is smart. I mean, think about cancer research and cancer drugs like that. I mean, everybody complains that cancer medicine's so expensive. The reason it's expensive is because they're trying to make it better.
Yeah.
Like, they need more money so that way they can put it in their company and develop new drugs. So that way, maybe like having cancer is expensive, but 30 years down the road from now, maybe having cancer will be like having a headache or something, and you could literally just take one pill and then it's gone forever.
Yeah. People really hate to hear that things are expensive. It's like the market determines the value, not the government. Like, you can't just say, oh, you have to charge this for cancer treatment because there's tons of people that have cancer. It's like, yeah, okay. The problem is, like, it's supposed to be expensive. It's new research, like, it's new development. It's people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans that went 8 years to be a doctor that are doing this. And
yeah, and they need to be compensated for their effort. I mean, they work hard. I certainly don't know how to create a medicine that can stop your body from having cancer. I mean, I'm not a stupid person, but I don't know how cancer medicine works, you know?
Yeah.
So
I heard something that would be like, oh, you know what a fun game to play would be? Let's just stop sharing all of our medical research with the rest of the world and see how they do.
Yeah.
Let's just cut them off.
They're not going to get any better, and we're just going to keep advancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just that. I mean, you're going to have to pay for what you get. You can't expect things from people and try to use the government as a weapon to take things from people that aren't yours. I mean, whenever you're buying something, you're basically buying something that isn't yours. You have no right to that. If you want that thing, you're going to have to pay for what they're asking.
That's what gets me about communists, because there was a guy that I'll never forget. He said, if you make a cent, this was some interview, it was like some guy just shouting at someone on some YouTube video. He said, if you make 1 cent for cancer research, or for developing a cancer cure, if you make 1 cent for that, then you're a crook. And it's like, hold up.
These people are trying to save your life. They're not crooks.
Like, if you make no money on it, if you have a guarantee of making $0, why would you ever put your, time towards that?
Yeah, who's going to want to go through college for 8 years, get all these student loans built up, and then say, oh, I can't wait to be a hobo for the rest of my life because I made no money at my job.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going to sign up for that. People aren't stupid.
Yeah. And then the other thing that gets me is when people say that, businesses are taxed because, the roads are used to transport their goods.
Oh, that's such a tiny fraction.
It is.
If you look at our budget, I think more than 50% of it is, Social Security and Medicare or something, or Medicaid.
That sounds about right.
I think over 50% of our taxes is entitlement programs, and that's stupid if you ask me. I mean...
Yeah. And not that I'm trying to get into this discussion a whole bunch, but my whole thing is, the government takes control of things that they don't need to take control of. Like, they don't need to take control of the roads. They don't need to take control of giving subsidies to the auto manufacturers.
Have you ever been on a toll road?
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
So nice.
Have you ever seen the roads in Rhode Island? It's like driving through, it's like driving on a dirt bike course, basically.
Oh, really?
You're just...
Yeah.
The whole time.
That's how California is. I remember being in California and being on the highway, and there were literally, changes of pavement that were, 3 inches tall. Constantly. So you'd just be boom! You would just, feel yourself get higher, and it's I wonder how much damage that's doing to my car.
Jeez. But I've thought about that before. If, the people in the government that could take control of the roads and everything, like the infrastructure, if they somehow like have it in with the auto manufacturers or the tire people, and they're just like, let's just screw them up so we can sell them more tires, more shocks.
Yeah, more shock absorbers and stuff like that. Jeez, I mean, that's a little conspiracy.
No, it
that's
definitely
just
is.
it's just a funny joke. I mean,
no. Whenever you see, like, I don't know, I don't know if it's from, like, just listening to certain people or reading certain things, but like, whenever you see something that lines up like that, you tend to think like, okay, who's benefiting from this? Because there is some power vacuum that's either there or it's being filled already by someone, and if it is, who's filling it?
Well, it's like whenever something doesn't make sense, people are going to question it.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it doesn't make sense that you're going to have roads with a 3-inch freaking bump in it and you're not even going to do anything about that. Like, that's completely insane. You're not going to do anything about that. You can't even take, like, a little bit of, I don't even know what they do. Take tar or asphalt and just, I don't know, fill it up. I don't know, do something.
Fix it.
I don't know, just fix it. I just want to be able to drive down the freaking road without my car snapping in half, you know?
Something tells me that if there was a free market company that made roads and they were that bad and that unkept, it probably would be out of business.
They'd probably go out of business, yeah. Just like, I mean, I really love American cars and stuff like that, and I love, like, our car manufacturers, but I remember doing a report on this in 8th grade, and I think the bailouts on our auto manufacturers was absolutely an insane idea. Because all these years, these companies have been making money, and they've been getting privatized. They're getting, when they make money off of selling cars, they get to keep that for themselves. But when they lose money off of selling cars, they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, so they can take riskier decisions.
They get the community. I mean, what would if you got to invest in something and you had no risk whatsoever, like you would always get your money back, wouldn't you take the riskiest decision ever?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no accountability anymore.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know if riskiness is necessarily the issue in the airline industry, but I'll never forget seeing news articles, about airline industries being, like, given subsidies for certain things. And I'm just like, are they supposed to be making money?
Why don't they just make the tickets more expensive? If that's what it's going to cost to run your business, then that's what it's going to cost to run your business, and the people are going to have to pay for it accordingly.
Yeah, like airline ticket, it's a luxury. Like luxuries, they're priced steeply. Like you don't just...
You don't have a right to get on an airplane, take money out of my bank account so that way you can go to Barbados, okay? I am not paying for that. If you want to go to Barbados, sure. Go ahead. I have nothing against you. You could pursue your own happiness. Sure, fine. That's fine. But I'm not paying for that. Why should I pay? How about people just pay for their own airline stuff? And if you can't afford a plane, well, guess what? You're going to have to take a bus cross-country just like my parents did 10 years ago because they couldn't afford it. So, I mean, people are just going to have to start living inside their means and stop making the community subsidize their every whim.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget the exact number, but it's almost worth looking up just how much money, I think there were like millions and millions of dollars of welfare money spent at Disneyland last year. That's insane.
Brian, you want to hop on that?
That's really worth looking up, but because that's absolutely insane. The fact that you get to demand at the hand of a gun, if I don't pay my taxes, I'll get arrested. So, essentially, you're demanding, like, with my arrest, you're saying, either pay for me to go to Disneyland or you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. I'm not paying for you to go to Disneyland. I can't even afford for me to go to Disneyland.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
Insane.
And people think, like, oh, you're just being crazy. They're not trying to hold a gun to your head. Yeah, they are. Yeah,
they are.
Like, learn what happens when you don't pay taxes, when you resist arrest because they're trying to throw you in a cage for not letting them just steal from you. Like, but people don't see that. This was funny. I actually got called an anarchist the other day because I was explaining to a guy how you can have a functioning government without income tax.
Yeah.
And he was just like, you're just one of those crazy anarchists. I'm like, no, if you think that government and taxes are just, like, intertwined, that's an extremely ignorant statement. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not an anarchist by any means.
There are states who have done that. I mean, no income. Also, I think it should be strictly a property tax. That way people are charged for what they have, not for like what they're earning or what they buy or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I think it should be you pay for what you use. So why, like I don't know. That's the way I think it ought to be. I think you would have to have a pretty high property tax, but in order to have the government's job is to protect your property and your life and your freedom. So, I mean, if you're going to pay anything to the government, it should be to protect your property. You should have to pay for your property.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that... Oh, you got something?
I got the number. Multiple sources claim that $69 million in California welfare money spent in Vegas and Disneyland.
California.
Only in California.
California welfare money was spent in Vegas and Disneyland.
$69 million. You know how nice that road could have been
You
in
didn't
California?
even know.
With the 3-inch bumps, $69 million could have at least smoothed out a couple of those. I mean, not perfect, but it could have helped.
Yeah. So, what were we talking about before?
I don't know. We were talking about how taxes go to roads and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is, it makes it seem like it's a very short walk from like a monarchist point of view like I have, where it's, government should only supply courts, military, and police, because it's the people who like set up the system to decide if someone violated your rights. It's the people that protect your rights, and it's the people that protect the nation itself.
Yeah.
And something has to go to pay for that, and I think property taxes would be a good way to go, because it is the government protecting your property.
Yeah.
Like you can do it yourself. You can buy a gun, but that's only like there's only a certain
That's only going to get you
situations where
so
you can
far.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if an invading army comes in, you're not going to stop them with your 12 gauge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
If somebody has like, I don't know, an attack helicopter or something, your 12 gauge ain't doing shit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, small militias or even large militias couldn't do anywhere near what a national military could do, because they wouldn't have the leadership, they wouldn't have the guidance, or they wouldn't all be on the same page.
Oh, that's the thing about militias too. Like, I think we need to live in a federal society, because if we had, like, back when the founders were creating this country, they were debating on between whether we should be one full federal nation or whether we should be, like, confederate and, like, a bunch of different individual states with a lot of states' rights. And 90% of the time, I believe in states' rights. But when it comes to the army and militias and stuff like that, I think we need to be united under one commander, because if we have a bunch of small militias and stuff like that, everybody's going to argue with each other, and they're going to have conflicts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you're also granting almost like a sense of authority to someone that it has like no, there's no oversight on their power.
Oh,
And,
if it was militias?
yeah,
Yeah,
and-
they could do bad things. There would be
Yeah.
nobody holding them accountable.
yeah, I could see that very much being a problem. So
Oh, but what were you talking about? That was kind of a tangent.
yeah, that was a heck of a tangent. We went from the tax plan to this. So, I don't know. Walking back a bit though to the tax plan, the other thing that gets me is the they call it the golf course tax, and it's
Really?
not. Yeah, well, the mainstream media, left wing media, calls it. Even the alternative left wing media, it's like BuzzFeed, Fox, Salon, those terrible god awful places.
Oh my god.
They call it the golf course tax, and it's not a golf course tax. It's a tax on forests and like naturally preserved areas, and golf courses just so happen to be one of the areas that can take advantage of this tax exemption. But they call it a golf course tax to make it seem like, oh, Trump's just giving breaks to golf courses because he likes to play on them, and it's like
the leaps they make.
yeah,
is
it's a very
absolutely
short
insane.
walk from going from, oh, CNN said Trump's playing golf, flip over to MSNBC. Geez, what is this? The golf course tax exemption? What is this?
And that's absolutely insane coming from the Democrats, who I thought they were all for eco-friendliness and
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, screw people who care about the environment. They're getting tax subsidies. Screw them.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought that was your entire idea here, was to give tax subsidies to people who don't deserve them. But
You're supposed to be eco warriors.
yeah.
What are you doing?
And I mean, when it comes to like the earth and taking care of the earth and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not one of those people who goes around and just like opens up a candy bar and just throws the wrapper on the ground. Like that's too far for me. Like, some people just don't care about the earth. They just litter everywhere. I mean, I'm not one of those people, but I'm also not one of those people who has a panic attack every time a truck drives by and it blows black smoke out of it. I mean, yeah, it smells bad and it's kind of annoying every once in a while, but I understand. I mean, those old, like, those work trucks that have a bunch of sand in the back, or they haul gravel or something like that, like those big, huge trucks, they're probably not gonna be as good on gas as your Prius.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just simple. That's obvious.
Yeah. I did a video on this actually yesterday, talking about how you have diesel trucks for a reason. It's because diesel has more power in it than petrol.
Yeah.
And petrol has more power in it than any of the alternative energies that are out there. Any of them. And currently, at least. So that's why you have these huge trucks that have to carry, several tons cross country or up steep inclines that, I mean, they can't run on something else.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know about you, but I just, whenever I have a candy wrapper, I tend to dig a hole and stuff it in the hole and then bury it so nobody can even find it to pick it up. I make sure to kill the earth as much as I can. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. God. No, it's crazy though when you think about the people who advocate for this eco-friendliness and whatnot, and really they don't have a solid grasp on how to be eco-friendly.
Oh, I think those people have no idea how the world works. They don't understand that humanity moves forward. They think that, like, humanity is where it is, and the only option we have is to move backward. Yeah. Because there are a lot of people who think, oh, gasoline engines emit carbon, and that makes our planet warmer. All right, what's the solution to that? Their solution is to kill technology and bring us back to the Dark Ages. Yeah. My solution is, no, technology is the answer. Maybe we need gas cars a little bit, like, for the upcoming years, because it's not like tomorrow everybody can have an electric car or something like that.
Yeah.
But, like, in the meantime, as technology gets better and better, and we're just going to have to wait, and sooner or later, energy source will come along that is better for the planet. But I think the only way to do that is the free market. I don't think government subsidies are going to help anything. Because as soon as you give government money to people to do research on more efficient fuels and, like, less pollution and stuff like that, they're gonna have an interest in not wanting to actually come up with that answer, so that way they can do more and more years of research, and they're also not gonna have an actual incentive to come up with an answer like tomorrow. Like, there's no market incentive for them to come up with a good, reliable resource and then, like, put it to market. If you're paying for it with the government, the only way to do that is by private industry.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they shouldn't get subsidies. Like.
Yeah, I don't think they should at all. But something I like to do from time to time is just say, like, let's play it out how they want. Like, let's just go through the steps that they want to take. Okay, so if we didn't have fossil fuel, like, if that was never taken out of the earth, we just left it in there.
Coal?
Yeah, so many of the alternative energy like innovations that have been made were made with fossil fuels, and people don't really realize that. Like, the photovoltaic cells in solar panels are entirely well, I shouldn't say entirely. They're very heavily produced with toxic chemicals, industrial solvents, petrol.
Yeah.
Like, it's not exactly all biodegradable stuff.
Yeah. But it's that white guilt. I mean, people people just want to feel like they're not the reason why the Earth is getting warmer, and it's like, all right. First of all, the science on that is a little bit shaky.
Yeah,
I don't even know
yeah.
if the Earth is getting warmer. I mean, last time I checked, scientists were coming out with this new statement that by 2050, the Earth's actually going to get colder 0.5 degree Celsius. And it's like, wait. So when the scientists predict that the Earth is going to get warmer 0.5 degree Celsius, it's the end of the world. But when they say it's going to get colder 0.5 degree Celsius, like, nobody even bats an eye at it. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, so for me, 0.5 degree Celsius and change in our temperature, either way, would have the same effects. You know, you're changing the temperature by 0.5 degree Celsius, so I don't know, something's gonna happen, something
Yeah.
either good or bad. I don't know, but also like populations adapt and humans adapt like that. Everybody says, oh, there's all these people who live on the coastline and their houses now the water level's gonna rise like 5 inches and their houses are gonna be underwater 5 inches. It's like, all right, so find a new house.
Yeah.
So
It's like borders have changed between land and sea all throughout time.
you think your house has been there for 2,000 years? Like, your house was put up like 30 years ago, bro.
Yeah.
It's not a long-standing monument. It's
Yeah.
not like...
Like, you think West Palm Beach, Florida was exactly that distance from the water, like, all throughout history?
Yeah. It's
I
like,
don't know.
lands change, people adapt. If you
Yeah.
think humans can't adapt to something as simple as a water level change, then you really have underestimated humans. Because
Yeah.
humans can do much more than adapt to 1/2 foot of water. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Humans are not stupid.
No, exactly. And it's like, and I say this every time I discuss global warming, because I'm not opposed to thinking it's real. I'm not opposed to thinking it's not. And by global warming, I mean man-made global warming. Like, obviously, there are, there's some data groups that say that it's getting warmer, some cooler, but all the research that I've seen that shows that the Earth is getting warmer is either found to later be fudged, or they just ignore periods that don't coincide with what they want the results to be.
Yeah.
Like, there was a study published by it's the NOAA. I'm blanking on what that stands for. It's like something with Atmospheric Association. But, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association. And they just left out a 15-year period called the Global Warming Hiatus from 1998 to 2013, where there was, I believe there was no change in the Earth's temperature. And the polar ice caps have been getting larger.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
heard
like-
that. I was talking to my friends. This is, alright, for the average American, this is why I cannot stand CNN. Because they brainwash the average American in such little ways. You would not believe the shit I get for loading up, literally, like, I don't even know what site it was. It was something .gov. It was, like, a legitimate, like, actual research website. I loaded up in front of my friends, like 10 different people. And these are not even political people. These are just average Americans, like, don't even care about politics. I show them, Antarctica is bigger than ever. It's like a headline. I think it was from NASA. And they just wouldn't believe it.
Oh, I saw that. I think I was looking up last night. I saw it NASA.
And they just wouldn't believe it. And they, like, they got mad at me. And I'm like, you're mad at me just because CNN has told you your whole life that the world's about to end, and now NASA says, no, actually the opposite.
Yeah.
And how are you mad at me about that? I mean, that's just the way, like, how we talk about how the Democrats have a hold of the pop culture, and how so many kids nowadays are left-leaning and stuff like that. It's absolutely insane how brainwashed they have everybody. It's like, people
Yeah.
don't... I showed them an actual statistic, an actual fact from NASA, and they just don't want to believe it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, not to cover the whole fake news thing really in depth here, but I suggest, if you haven't already checked it out at all, Steven Crowder did a 16-hour live stream where he watched CNN for 16 hours, and, I mean, he uncovered exactly why people have the opinions that they do and how CNN brainwashes people. Like, it's not just false facts, it's like bias by omission. Like they don't tell you things that you need to know to form a full opinion.
Oh, for me, the half-truth is still a lie. If somebody only tells me a half-truth, that's still a lie.
I count that too. Very much so.
And that's CNN. They'll only tell you the half-truth that supports their narrative.
Yeah.
And I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I'd rather just know the facts and be able to make my own opinion on it, but I mean at this point we've come to a point where if you want to find out the truth, you have to go on Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC and figure out what they all say in common, and then that might be slightly true. That's the only thing you can confirm to be true. I mean, none of the opinions they have are the same. None of the background they have is the same. It's just like when they talk about events, maybe those events were true, but all of the details about that event, they all have different details. So I just know that they're all fake. I mean, even with Fox, I mean, I am a right-leaning person, slightly. I'm on the right, but even I could see with Fox how they have their own biases, and honestly, I feel like a lot of that is just to compensate for CNN and stuff like that, because they're the only network. Like, they're the one major network that's fighting all these MSNBC, CNN, I don't even know. Pretty much any news network that you name off is going to be left-leaning.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, we think of them as mainstream media just because they're on the TV and they're what people watch. Like, you see commercials during them and whatnot. There are so many podcasts and just shows on YouTube that get way more viewers than Fox News does. And that's mind-blowing to me, how these places are still considered to be like the pinnacle of news and mainstream media and this huge news conglomerate. And it's like even CNN, like I think it was InfoWars, like belittles CNN.
Really?
It makes CNN, the audience look like
just,
nothing.
That just shows you America's just fed up with it. Americans are just sick and tired of being fed these lies by CNN, and also these insane headlines. I mean, every time I've ever gone on CNN for the past 6 months, it's been Trump Russia, Trump Russia, Trump Russia. It's like, do you have anything on Trump Russia, or are you just gonna keep saying Trump Russia and hope something sticks?
Yeah.
Like, the only actual news I've heard on Trump Russia is that there was one guy who was biased from the beginning. Like, who was that? There was an FBI guy who had text messages going...
It wasn't Jared Kushner, was it?
I couldn't remember.
He's the only one I can think of that I remember having, like, they talked heavily about him having connections to Russia. But...
Or some sort of FBI investigator who was caught having text messages going to his girlfriend of him saying, let's try to screw Trump, essentially.
I know who you're talking about. Okay, I don't think that wasn't Jared Kushner. I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
But just that, I mean, that in itself just goes to show that so many people are just biased and they're just out to get you.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we just go by the facts? Like, I remember whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty. Nowadays, it's innocent until CNN wants to screw with you.
Yeah.
And then...
It's innocent until someone accuses you of sexual harassment.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're done. You're off the face of the earth. Like,
well, I honestly, I mean, I'm not a fan of sexual harassment. I mean, those guys who are pigs to women, I'm not into that culture. I'm into respecting women.
Yeah.
I'm, like, so nice to women and all this stuff. And then I think there's like two different things to it. There's people who are like actual sexual harassers and like will just grab a girl's butt as she's walking by or something like that. Like, to me, that's wrong. To me, those people should get in trouble.
Yeah.
But the people who are just like on YouTube or something talking about like playing Call of Duty on YouTube and they're having a voiceover and they're saying, "Oh, I just pwned your mom's tits" or something like that. Like, that's not sexual harassment. Like, I'm fine with that wording and with people talking like that. That's just free speech, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't know, even some people on the left, and even also some Christians, are just against things like video game violence and video game sex and like, all this stuff. And, I mean, I like Grand Theft Auto. I'm personally not anything like Trevor or like those other guys from GTA 5. What are the three guys named? Trevor and
Franklin. I
oh
think,
Franklin
and
and
Michael.
oh yeah.
Okay.
And I'm nothing like those guys. I mean, I don't go around and kill people, obviously.
Yeah. I
But the
hope
thing
not.
is when it's just a game and you're a kid and you just want to blow off some steam, I mean, that's completely fine. Go do you. I mean, there have been so many studies that have just shown that video games don't amount to any amount of
Yeah.
violence or things like that, but
There's like I'll never forget. Well, I shouldn't say I remember, but I remember reading about it later. How the media like blew up over Columbine. How the kids played Doom.
I don't
And-
know what Doom is.
It's like it's like one of the earlier first person shooter games, and
Oh.
it was like back when everything looked like Minecraft basically. I mean, they have more advanced games now that look better, but this was like back in '99. So, but the media just blew up over that, and they were like, "Oh, these kids only did Columbine because they played Doom," and I was like, "No,
A normal
No.
person who plays a first-person shooter does not go out and kill other people.
yeah."
I'm
It's like, do
telling
you know how many?
that much.
It's like, do you know how many people played Doom? Like,
Have
you
you
have any
ever-
idea?
Have you ever talked to anybody who's played Call of Duty? I
Yeah.
promise
Yeah.
you they're not trying to kill you.
Yeah,
Like, they're not bad people.
yeah.
They just want to play Call of Duty because it's fun. They're
Yeah.
not evil. They're not trying to kill people. I mean, the
Uh,
assumptions. People just automatically assume so much about people, and
Yeah.
I
You
think
see,
it's crazy.
My bigger concern isn't even video games leading to violence. It's not even my bigger concern isn't even people being violent. Like, I think to a certain degree it's a mental issue for people.
Oh, yeah.
But my whole thing is like, what is Google doing there with AI? Like that. I did a
Oh.
video on this, and that's
Artificial
that's
intelligence?
a bit concerning. Yeah, that's a bit concerning because that seems to be something that the media pretends is this great thing. Because honestly, I don't even think they're really pretending. I think a lot of the ones who are reporting on the stories and doing the research have no idea how to like analyze this stuff and be like, oh, this could potentially happen. They're just like, oh, Amazon recommended this thing for me and I bought it and I liked it. And they're like,
Are you talking about like the Amazon, like the
The Echo?
Siri in a box or whatever?
yeah, the
Echo.
Dot or the Echo Dot, or yeah, that thing. Alexa, yeah.
Oh, Alexa. Yeah, my dad has one of those.
Yeah,
Um,
we have the Fire Stick downstairs, and I'll tell you, it's
I'm fine with
weird.
those things. Everybody acts like they're so smart, but you ask that thing a question, and if it doesn't know it's like the only thing that thing could do is Google things for you.
Yeah,
It isn't real artificial intelligence. And my problem with it is I don't think you could ever really have artificial intelligence. I mean, I remember hearing about that they're coming out with these new robots who are supposed to be like, I don't know, just like a helper, or like they can do things around your house for you or almost be your friend too. And I heard that there are these people trying to lobby and saying that these robots have rights, just like you and me.
yes,
And saying that, like, I understand people are weird as hell, and I understand there's going to be some crazy mother effer in his mom's basement taking one of these robots to Pound Town. And for me, I mean, do your thing. That doesn't, because that has no externalities. You're not hurting anybody else. I mean, you might be hurting this robot, but it's a robot.
It's a robot.
It's not a human.
Yeah.
Some people are trying to fight for the rights of that robot and saying,
The robot doesn't have chemicals in its body that it's not chemicals that constantly manipulate the biological makeup of the robot. Like, that's not what's happening. So
Yeah.
it already can't feel emotion. It wouldn't, like, you can program it to, but again, you're programming it.
And you could program it to seem like it feels emotion, but really what you're doing is just programming it to, whenever you say something rude to it, for it to be sad.
Yeah.
That's just the programmer programming that into it. It isn't actually thinking for itself. And that's the thing. I don't think artificial intelligence will ever actually be able to, like, think for itself and, like, have feelings. I think humans are special. And I think that the human spirit and our soul and stuff like that, that's something that no other animal has, that no robot will ever have. I just think humans are better than that. I honestly think robots are straight up subhuman.
They are. I mean, this microphone isn't. Do you want rights? Do you
Yeah.
want rights? No.
It doesn't have feelings. If I poke it, if I flick it off, it's not crying right now.
Yeah.
Like, it can't feel anything. It doesn't even know.
Yeah. It'd be funny if it just shut off.
Yeah.
But no, that I don't know if that whole like robots have rights thing was started with this, but I know that there was an ex-Google executive that was trying to make the first church of AI called Way of the Future, and in their front page of their website, they talk about how they dream of living in a world where robots have the same rights as people. And I'm just like, no. I did a whole video on this. Like that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Robots, like, for me, they should be, like, honestly, they could be, like, slaves. Like, that sounds awful, and I know somebody's gonna take that out of context and edit me. I don't know. Somebody's gonna dox me. I don't know. Somebody's gonna try to make me feel awful about saying that, but honestly, robots don't have feelings like you and me, and people like you and me don't always want to, like, go take the garbage out when it's cold outside or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, go make a robot do it. Or people like you and me don't want to work 24/7.
Yeah.
But, like, you think about a robot in a factory, that thing could work 24/7 and not even care. That's not hurting anybody's feelings for that robot to work 24/7. I
Yeah.
mean, I think robots are great. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those people who's like, the future, man, the robots are gonna take over, man.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not
yeah.
one of those people. I'm just one of the people who thinks, yeah, the future is great, and we're gonna have a lot of robots in the future, but they're not gonna be equal to us. They're gonna be our servers. They're gonna serve things to us that we don't want to do for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is, like, AI itself, like, granted, and this is one of the dangers of it, is that at some basic level you have to have human input. People don't realize that AI, like, what they believe true AI is, would have the ability to, like, go against what a person would want. So if you make a robot that's AI that doesn't do that, then you're putting in a failsafe, making it even less of, like, an artificial intelligence than it already is.
Because it's gonna have restrictions.
Yeah.
Like, true humans, like, true consciousness is unrestricted.
Yeah.
Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, not saying people are going to do good things, because there are a lot of people in this world who are straight up evil.
Yeah.
There's so much evil in this world. But if you're restricting a robot to not do evil, then it's not conscious. Because the ability to do good things is the same thing as the ability to do bad things. Humans could either do great good or great bad.
Yeah.
And if you make and that's what consciousness is. Consciousness is making a conscious decision to do good in the world instead of just doing what you want or doing bad things.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about robots is if you don't give them the opportunity or you don't even give them the options to choose and have free will to choose between what they want to do today, then they're not intelligent. They don't have artificial intelligence, like true artificial intelligence, because they can't think for themselves if you're limiting their options.
Yeah. And that's where one of the scarier aspects of the whole artificial intelligence comes into play is, what if you accidentally get to a point where, or if a company even purposely makes an AI that can make other AIs, but it's unbounded on its own. Like, if the most basic level of human input is, like, as minimal as you can make it, so this robot's generally thinking for itself, and it's making other AIs. Like, Google actually has this program, this system that can make other AIs, and it makes it better than humans can make it.
Oh, really?
And that's what's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
you don't know where
what
the
it's
level,
making.
like, what level is it going to stop at?
Yeah.
I mean, just between just that coupled with the fact that if the human input isn't a good human input, that can lead to disaster. I mean, there's so much around it. I mean, AI cars are somewhere that, like, I'm like, okay, they drive you. Like, that's not that bad.
For me, that's fine, because that's just essentially using a robot for what it's actually meant for, which is to make a human's life better, to serve us, to make our life better and easier. I thought that was the whole point of having technology in this world, is to make your life easier.
Yeah.
I mean, my life's so much easier than cavemen. Cavemen used to have to stand out there in the cold and then freaking go beat a freaking thing with a club. I don't want to go. I'd rather just go to McDonald's and get like a McChicken. I did not have to beat any animals, stand out in the cold, like stand out in the rain for that. I mean, I have a nice cozy bed at home. Humanity's great. I mean, technology's great. I really am enjoying living it with technology.
It is. It is pretty great. And I'll tell you, the free market got us most of it, if not all of it.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet it's just about all of it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I don't think stealing from other people under, like, socialism, like, stealing other people's things aren't gonna make more things appear.
Yeah.
Like...
Not at all. And that's the thing is, like, it depends what level you want to go to with AI. Because, like, I'm okay with it to a certain level, like, you know, drive my car. Or, well, maybe not have a robot drive my car, but have a self-driving car. Or if it's, like, a robot that can't say no, because I've seen that before where they make AI, like, very early stages of it, where it just can't say no, so you tell it to do something and it does it. Well, then the problem comes in when it can say no. But if you had a robot that was just like, hey, it's cold outside, go take out the trash. It was like, okay. And then it goes and does it. It's like, that's fine. As long as it doesn't come back and try to kill me. Like,
yeah.
But it's a very far jump from taking out the trash to coming back and killing you. But it's all that in-between area that Google's trying to fill in with more AI. And that's what my issue is with the whole thing.
To me, the purpose of technology was to better humanity. I don't get how it betters humanity to create artificial intelligence that could actually think for itself. I mean, that might better robots. I don't know.
It might be cool. It might look
cool,
like sci-fi.
Yeah, but I don't know how that really betters humanity to get robots that can think for themselves, because it's like, I don't know, maybe if there's a bunch of lonely computer programmers out there, they could have some robot friends. But for the average person, I think they would just want a robot to, like, do their chores. I mean, like, if I want a friend, I'll go talk to a human. I'm not going to try to hit up a robot to chill. Like, let's be honest. You're going to hit up a human who has consciousness to hang out with. Nobody's going to want to hang out with a robot, because everybody's going to know, like, that a robot's not the same as a human.
Yeah, it's a very different connection. So, hey, Bri, you want to check that camera, just see how much time is left? Because I want to make sure we're not running out of time here. But, no, I think that's...
4 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. We're at like an hour here, so we'll wrap this up. But, yeah, I think AI is something that really has to be looked at closely, and it has to be carefully monitored. Like, you can't just have companies that progress really far with this AI stuff just left, like, unbounded and unchecked. I mean...
Well, that's the thing is, that sounds like a Democrat thing to put regulations on these companies, but the thing is, it's not. And I'll tell you why. It's because, like, Republicans believe you should be, or I believe you should be able to do anything you want as long as it has no externalities that hurt anybody else. And if you're creating an AI that has consciousness and can do its own thing, you might be hurting other people.
Yeah.
So chances are you're probably going to end up hurting other people if you do that. So in that case, I'm for government regulation because it has externalities.
Yeah. That's like I don't know, most people I don't even think would have heard about this, but on December 21st, Trump signed an executive order that banned anyone in the U.S., any U.S. companies, like the criteria was very long and it was very specific, but it was banning people basically in the U.S. or companies in the U.S. from doing business with like 13 different people. And it's like, generally I'd be like, okay, you're just banning people from doing business with these other people. But then you read about it, and the people on the list are people that, like, stole kidneys and sold them on the black market and
just
committed
people,
like ethnical cleansing against people, like terrible things. And you think about it, and the reasoning in the executive order for it is that it makes America safer, and it makes our economy better. It makes us a better nation.
Well,
to do this.
I certainly don't want my kidneys harvested, so
Yeah,
I mean, if those people can screw off, then all the better.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think we covered a lot. This was pretty good. So
Oh yeah.
thank you
You'll have
very
to have
much
me
for
on some
coming
other
in.
Time.
And yeah, we'll talk free speech, Second Amendment. I don't know.
Oh,
We'll get
I'd
to a lot
love to.
more. So yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.